Hey guys, we are getting ready to gear into our geometry unit a little bit more. So last week you learned how to classify triangles by their sides and angles. Today I'm going to teach you how to classify quadrilaterals. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this lesson. So as you know, quadrilaterals are four-sided shapes, right? So we're going to be doing a hierarchy. So our learning target is I can classify quadrilaterals in a hierarchy based on properties of that category. So a hierarchy is basically just a way of grouping anything in a category where we put one thing up and then other things fall beneath it based on their attributes or what they offer. Okay, so you have a little notes page that I have attached right below the video, and this one is called Types of Quadrilaterals and Definitions. So if you notice, the activating strategy was also not in the video because I really need all of this time to go through this. This seems like it's pretty easy and simple, but if you don't memorize it, you're not going to know it. So you're really going to have to take some time with this and kind of get to know this skill. So I'm actually going to stretch this out just a little bit more so we can make this one bigger so I can go over these terms with you. Okay, so for this one, we have a quadrilateral. A quadrilateral is a polygon with four sides, okay? So that's all it has to be. It has to be a polygon, and we said last week that a polygon is a closed figure that uses line segments, no curved lines, that has at least three sides and three angles, okay? In this case, quadrilaterals have four sides and four angles, and that's all it takes to be a quadrilateral. It has to be a polygon, has to have four sides and four angles, okay? So another term that you need to know is parallel, because that's how we'll be describing their sides. If they're parallel, they go opposite sides of each other. So the lines are in the same place, they will never intersect or cross each other, okay? So if you look here, you can see that these are parallel, but these are non-examples. So this is a non-example. I'm going to go back up to the quadrilateral. Here's an example. Here's a non-example of quadrilateral, okay? Parallelogram. So a parallelogram is a special type of polygon, okay? First of all, it has to be a quadrilateral, it has to be a polygon, it has to be closed, it has to have four sides and four angles. But what makes it a parallelogram is it has two pairs of parallel sides. So when I'm looking at parallel sides, these lines will never intersect each other, and these lines will never intersect each other. So because of that, those are parallels or parallelograms, okay? So here's an example of a parallelogram. This is an example of a parallelogram. And although these lines are slanted here, if you notice, this side and this side will never intersect each other. Just because they're going slanted just means that they'll continue to slant in that same direction and they'll never intersect each other, okay? This is a non-example. So this trapezoid is not a parallelogram because if I look very closely, these two lines here will eventually intersect from the bottom because they're going this way, and if I keep going, eventually they're going to run into each other. So those are non-examples. So this is not a parallelogram. All right, let's look at the next one, a rectangle. To be a rectangle, you have to have certain qualifications. So a rectangle is a quadrilateral with four right angles and four sides. So right angles means that it forms that perfect L, 90-degree angle. We talked about that with triangles. A triangle is a right triangle if it had one 90-degree angle, okay? So a rectangle has four 90-degree angles. It has a right angle in every corner, okay? So these are examples of rectangles. This rectangle here, and this square here. Now, why would a square be in this thing that says rectangle? Well, because it has four right angles. So a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle is not a square. So here's an example Here are two examples of rectangles, and this is a non-example. Now, it's a non-example because this does not have 90-degree angles, okay? It's slanted. All right, so let's look at the next one, a square. A square is a quadrilateral with 4 congruent sides. That means all of its sides are exactly the same, and it has 4 right angles, which also means it has to be a parallelogram. So a square has 4 right angles, but it also has 4 equal sides. So here's an example, here's a non-example, okay? All right, let's look at the rhombus. It's at the bottom over here. So we have a rhombus. A rhombus is a quadrilateral that has 4 congruent sides. So that means all of its 4 sides equal the same length. But it also doesn't have any other qualification. It just has to have 4 equal sides. 4 equal sides, it's a parallelogram, it's a quadrilateral, it's a polygon, but it is a rhombus because it just has 4 equal sides. So it does not have to have 4 90-degree angles, okay? So because of that, a rhombus can be a slanted figure as long as it has 2 sets of parallel sides and 4 sides are congruent. So here's an example. Notice again, a square is there. Why? Because a square is a rhombus because it has 4 equal sides. But a rhombus is not necessarily a square. So here's an example. And these are 2 non-examples because they do not have 4 congruent sides, okay? And then the last one is a trapezoid. A trapezoid is a quadrilateral that has at least 1 set of parallel sides. So it has to have at least 1 set of parallel sides. So these are examples of a trapezoid. This right here says that this is not a trapezoid, but that is not true. Some classifications say that it is a trapezoid and some say that it is not. In the state of Georgia, we classify any figure that has at least 1 set of parallel sides as a trapezoid. And this figure right here has 2 sets. So yes, it has at least 1 set of parallel sides. All right, and then our last figure is this kite here. A kite is a quadrilateral with 2 pairs of equal sides that are adjacent, meaning they are right next to each other, not parallel. And also has 2 pairs of equal sides but are opposite to each other rather than adjacent. So these here are opposite to each other. They are not. These right here, this one is not the same length as this one, so these are opposite angles, but these 2 are congruent and adjacent, meaning that they are connected or right next to each other. So that's what makes a kite a kite. All right, let's look here. So you notice that I have my hierarchy here, and we're going to go through this. What I want you to do today is to rewrite these notes. That is all you need to do, and I want you to do that at least 3 times. The only way you're going to learn this is memorizing it. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and make this a little bit larger so that you can see as I'm writing. And I'm going to move my face over here. All right, so here we go. So I've got this top, ignore the numbers that it says 9, 10, 11, 12, that doesn't matter. Okay, all right, so at the very top, if I want to talk about a hierarchy, I'm going to put everything in order from what the most of these things could be to what the least of them would be, okay? So I'm going to start with, I've got all these terms here, and I'm going to start with polygon, because if you remember, a polygon is a closed figure with at least 3 angles and 3 sides. Okay, and remember it's also made with line segments. I'm going to switch out pens here because that pen's looking a little weak there. All right, so told you we were working on is quadrilateral. So we are working on quadrilaterals. So a polygon can also be a quadrilateral. And a quadrilateral, if you notice, this is a four-sided shape. So it is a quadrilateral. And a quadrilateral has four sides and four angles. Okay, there's really not much to it. It just has to be a polygon. It has to be have four sides and four angles. So it could look like a rectangle. It could look like this. It just has to have four sides and four angles. That's all it takes to be a quadrilateral. Okay, so if I look, I can see over to the side that I have a kite. It has opposite sides that are not congruent or parallel, but it has two adjacent congruent sides. So two adjacent, or two sets. I'm sorry, please make sure you have two sets in there. Two sets of adjacent congruent sides. Notice that my tick marks represent which sides are equal. So if these two are congruent, then that's where I'm going to put my tick marks. If these two are congruent, then that's where I'm going to put in my tick marks. I have two on this side and two on that side. Okay? All right, so now I notice that this kind of branches off to itself. So it's kind of off to itself. We kind of put the kite out there as just a quadrilateral. That is a different type of quadrilateral from the ones that we're going to do over here. So we've got polygon to a quadrilateral. Now I notice that this one has one set of parallel sides. So then that means that this is a trapezoid, because a trapezoid has one set, just one set of parallel sides. And again, at least. So I should say at least one set of parallel sides. Okay? All right, so that brings me to the next two sets of parallel sides is a parallelogram. All right, so two sets of parallel sides, okay, that are opposite of each other. All right, so a square, oh, that's not a square, my bad. This is a rhombus. All right, so this is a rhombus, and this is a rhombus because it has four congruent sides, but my angles are not right angles, okay? These are obtuse angles and two acute angles, okay? So this is a rhombus, and it just has four equal or congruent sides. All right, and then I have my rectangle. Now, how do I know this is a rectangle? It has four 90-degree angles. That's what it takes to be a rectangle. Okay, so it has four 90-degree angles. It is a parallelogram, which means it has two sets of parallel sides. Okay, and then finally is the square. Okay, so a square has to have four congruent sides and four 90-degree angles. All right, okay, so this is what I want you to do. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so you can see this. I want you to completely redo this on your own. Rewrite it as many times as you need to. Make sure you have the terms. Rewatch the video, and we will review this tomorrow. Have a great day, guys.